Time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello everybody and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom! This is a show where we wake up with a Saturday morning sun, pop on 4 big old sugar cereal, and our favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
This morning, we watched Mobile Suit Gundam Wing.
There's a lot of Gundams out there. This is the wing one. It's not a seed, it's a wing. And this was suggested by me because I am now a year older than when you last heard my voice.
You think you're a year wiser too?
No. I'm nothing else aged, just my physical body.
Yeah, I think the only wisdom I gained was that my body's starting to fall apart around 30.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and I woke up at 33 with my body like not wanting to do the things that it needs to do to, stand up out of bed.
Which is why I sent you Depends for your birthday.
Yeah, thank you for those. I've been using them all day.
This episode is sponsored by Depends. Not really.
Even they won't sponsor us.
No, no one listens. The show Mobile Suit Gundam Wing airs from 95 to 96. Written by Katsuyuki Sumizawa. Man, I should have read these before. I'm not going to be able to do any of this. Produced by Sunrise Studios. Ran for one season, 49 episodes. In Japan on TV Asahi. In Australia on Cartoon Network. In Canada on YTV. In UK on Cartoon Network. And in US on Cartoon Network Toonami. For a short synopsis by Kenneth Chisholm, who I think I've read a synopsis for something else.
That's the third time, Kenneth. How do you keep doing this?
He gets around.
What the? Is he leaving these synopsi now just to get in on the show?
I feel like yes.
Kenneth.
Like
we found you out.
He's just seen every show ever, so he has something to say about all of them.
That's odd, but thanks, I guess.
Hey, it's a pretty good one, though. Okay. A squadron of giant robot pilots of a beleaguered Earth colony bring the war to their oppressive home planet. Man, this show was way loaded, and the first few minutes of it, I was like, what is going on? This is going to be so boring because it's just politics. And then it started opening up, and I got real into it. But
it gets so deep, man. There's so many layers. It's like an onion inside of an ogre. It's got that many layers.
Inside of an ogre, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shrek reference. So who are some of the actors who played in this show?
All right, so the voice of Hiro Yui in Japan was Hikaru Midorikawa, and in English, Mark Hildreth. The voice of Duo Maxwell was Toshihiko Seki and Scott Neal. Voice of Troy Barton, Shigeru Nakahara, and Kirby Morrow. The voice of Catcher Barba Winner was Ai Orikasa and Brad Swale. Voice of Chang Wu-fei was Ryozo Ishino and Ted Cole. Voice of Relina Peacecraft, Akiko Yajima and Lisa Ann Belay. Voice of Zex Marquise, Takehito Koyasu and Brian Drummond. And finally, the voice of Trace Kushranada was Ryotaro Okiayu and David Kay.
That's a big cast.
It's a big cast, and I left out a lot of characters. The cast of this show is enormous.
There was one, it was like Baroness from G.I. Joe makes an appearance. I was like, I don't know who these people are.
Yeah,
and
Lady
they don't say their,
yeah.
They don't say their names anymore, so it's like I'm expected to know. And I probably am. I mean, they're assuming I've seen every episode leading up to the ones I watched.
Sure.
But that's not the case.
Yeah.
So it was confusing, but I forgave because
You're a man of forgiveness is what you are.
So for future tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Gundam cereal, many of the characters are named after numerals, particularly French numbers. Relina was modeled after actress Audrey Hepburn, while the dress she wears in the latter portion of the series is identical to one worn by Hepburn's character, Princess Anne, in Roman Holiday.
Oh, interesting.
The name Oz stands for Organization of Zodiac. This is further evidenced by the naming scheme of their weapons: Leo, Aries, Cancer, Pisces, Taurus, Virgo, and Libra.
And that's pretty cool, because I always felt like it was a weird name for this show to have Oz as the name of this giant powerhouse in this world, but okay.
It's kind of a double meaning thing too, or probably many meanings, but Oz also The series also contains several references to Wizard of Oz, all of which are tied to the military group Oz, of course. The character Dorothy Catalonia is named for Dorothy Gale. The emblem for the specials, Oz's cover identity, is a profile of the Tin Woodsman's head. The Romefeller Foundation, Oz's sponsors, uses the lion for its symbol. And in episode 35, an Oz pilot uses the call sign Scarecrow 5. So, yeah, there's a ton of like Wizard of Oz references, even though Oz in this sense stands for Organization of Zodiac.
That's cool. So, I've watched this show I don't know how many times, and I never picked up on that.
See, I think a lot of it's inferred more than it is actually mentioned.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things like that. I found it really interesting. I mean, a lot of the marshmallows for it, though, were things that I would read, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is because it's referring to an episode like 35 or something. I'm like, nope, not going to pull this one. So what are some memories you have of this show? I know that you chose it, so you're a fan, but what are some of your first memories of it?
Man, I started watching this when it was on Toonami. So it was like Dragon Ball Z and this show, which is what got me into anime in the first place. And I was immediately drawn to this, I think partially because the Gundam pilots were teenagers and I was a teenager at the time, wanting to feel special. And these 5 were special because of their abilities and they were highly trained and stuff. And I just thought it was cool. And there was just, it was the first thing that ever introduced me to like the idea of politics, you know? I just thought it just blew my mind at the time because I'd never watched or paid attention to any kind of story remotely like this before. The Gundam Death Scythe was my absolute favorite, and Duo was my favorite character, to the point that when I started playing the game Diablo 2, so it was around the same time I was playing that when this came out, my first character was named Death Scythe. And it was a barbarian, and I got a giant scythe. And I would do whirlwind, and he would just spin around with that scythe and just wreck everything, and it was great.
So at least you kept it name appropriate.
Heck yeah.
This was my first time, honestly, ever seeing this show. Like, I might have seen like pieces of other Gundam things because, like you said, there are so many now. I know I've seen some Seed. Never, like, the whole way through have I seen any of them. I didn't know who the characters were. It was just I loved the way that the Gundams look.
Yeah.
And still, I mean, that's true. And it's so interesting jumping into this. I don't know if it's something I could have gotten into as like a little kid, but as a teenager, I definitely would have and been interested in this like epic storyline that's going on because there's a lot of pauses in between action, but there's so much that they're layering in with just the dialogue that it would definitely keep me interested if you know, I'm above the age of, I don't know, 10 or something or 12. I have no idea. Like, but I could see it not being interesting to kids, but at the same time, like teens and adults, I could see it really catching your imagination.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's go ahead and jump into the episodes we watched for today's show. The very first episode, highest rated episode. Finally, random listener chosen episode. Order may vary depending on how these episodes fall chronologically, but of course, we have to start with the very first episode, which is The Shooting Star She Saw, Season 1, Episode 1. And in this one, in the year after Colony 195, after decades of oppression from the United Earth Sphere Alliance and its secret weapons organization, Oz, a group of rebels in the space colonies send down 5 mobile suits known as Gundams to overthrow the militaristic regime.
I watched the dub, you watched the sub. Did you get the awesome, the music at the beginning?
You're saying for the intro or for the opening of the episode? Yeah, I think it's the same intro. It is a really cool intro, and I love even all the scenes that it's showing in the intro. Like,
dude, it gets me pumped.
Conversely, though, the outro was very strange
stupid.
To me. Yeah, it's like about a girl who's like teasing a boy because she likes him. It's very like high school romance thing, and I'm like, that has nothing to do with this show. At least not what I saw of it.
Relina is, like playing this awful pop song, like Japanese pop song. You're just seeing the credits while you see Relina, like first she's playing around outside, like walking barefoot in grass, and then she's like visiting zoo animals and just like she's pulling on a rhinoceros tail and then she's sleeping on it. And I was like, what? I was reading
the lyrics for the song, and they're about basically the romance between her and Hiro. Without saying it, it's just about like a girl liking a boy or something.
It's weird.
And him not paying attention to her.
Well, actually, so that part's appropriate. Because that is kind of like throughout the series, she does kind of become infatuated in Hero. He kind of like hates her at first. And then like he kind of develops this protective nature around her, but like they never get that moment. Like it just never happens.
The hatred part I could see because, I mean, this might be jumping ahead a tiny bit in this first episode, but where like he lands on Earth, or where he crash lands in the ocean, and he washes up on shore, and she comes to save him, and he's like trying to conceal his identity, and then like she sees him clearly, and then when he is in class, or when they're in class together, she tries to give him an invitation to her birthday party, and he's like, he rips it up in front of her, and then he's like, "I will kill you."
Yes.
At least. Yeah.
That's the best line ever delivered after rejecting a girl from her birthday party.
I wasn't sure if it was the same translation in the United States.
Oh yeah.
Man. Yeah, okay. That's
great.
Cuz I was like, "Whoa, that wow. I was not expecting that."
Without the context, this sounds terrible. But
and I didn't have context even because like I didn't see like the second or third or whatever. I didn't see up until episode 7. And so it's like, as far as I know, he still wanted to kill her up to the end.
Right. So what happens is the first thing you really see, I think, is Zex Marquise, who his face is always shrouded by this mask, and then he's got like, I don't know, like elfin long hair. It's just super long, super white, and perfectly straight down the back.
He's just a beautiful blonde man.
Beautiful man.
I loved Zex's character, at least his outfit.
Oh, he's so cool.
In the beginning.
This whole cartoon is just, it's awesome because it's like very futuristic, but it's also very Victorian at the same time. And that's such a cool mix because I'd never seen anything like that. And I don't know that I've seen that since, honestly. Just to basically give some background. There are really two sides to the story. There are the colonies and there is Earth. And so Earth is now kind of under a global governance called the Earth Sphere Alliance, which came about as a group of governments that decided all countries needed to be more heavily governed in order to stop war. So basically, they kind of swept through, they stopped dissenting armies and things like that. So like, just to think about it nowadays, it would be like if all these countries came together and they went in and they basically took over like Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan. This kind of sounds like us, like America, but this would probably take over us too, because we're kind of a threat. Russia, Libya, all of those countries. So everything would be kind of demilitarized under this one big global government. And then this government also has other sections to it. Like there's the Rockefeller Foundation, which kind of, funds the majority of the Earth Sphere Alliance. You also have the Oz Corporation or organization, which supplies a lot of the mech suits. They have most of the technology. They are kind of like the special black ops part of the military. They have the specials, which are like the most highly trained soldiers, and they are like in every branch of this thing. Anytime there's battle, there's always specials there alongside the regular forces and stuff like that. So the colonies are out in space, like, that makes sense, right? And they kind of don't like this idea of this self-governed Earth, because some of them would have come from Earth and, kind of fleeing this idea of losing freedoms and stuff. And Earth is also kind of if we want to not have conflict, we can't just do it here. We have to do it there too. So there's been a lot of like back and forth. There was a, and this might explain more for you, Joseph. There was a guy, it'd probably be more like a Franz Ferdinand type figure on the colonies, whose name was Hiro Yui, and he was assassinated. Which is where our main character, Hiro Yui here, got his name, because that's not his real name, and most of the Gundam pilots are not using their real names. Like the Earth Sphere Alliance and Oz specifically was pretty much to blame for it. So there's a lot of animosity between the two sides. The colonies devised this plan, and they had some sort of weapon that they were sending to Earth. The Earth Sphere Alliance knew, more specifically, Oz knew it was going to happen because they saw intel, but they didn't know what it was or how it was going to happen. So when this thing opens up, we're seeing Zex in a ship in outer space, and then all of a sudden, this shuttle that was not on Oz's radar comes flying out, like coming after that other, like, you know, civilian kind of shuttle, and that happens to be piloted by our hero Yui.
I don't remember if you mentioned Operation Meteor.
That was their weapon operation. That was the thing that they thought was going to stop the Earth Sphere Alliance, basically once and for all.
I mean, it's the code name for that, but it's also literal in the sense that they're launching these like meteor balls, which are essentially all Gundam, right? Just weapons.
Yeah. So what they were trying to do was they were trying to launch them to different parts of the Earth under the guise of being meteors, you know, like shooting stars. They were hoping to fly under the radar. Oz found out about the plan before it happened. So Oz knew something was happening. And that's why they were out there.
They said they could only catch up to one,
which was
and
Hero.
that was Heroes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, Zex sees this other ship and he's like, all right, we got to take this out. The ship kind of falls apart and there's this like crazy aircraft inside, which after some more like poking and prodding and stuff by Zex and his ship, Zex gets in a mobile suit, goes after it. It transforms into the Gundam, and most of us would know what the Gundam looks like. You know, the big robot samurai looking kind of thing. And they're all just basically like, oh crap.
Because Gundam, what I found out, it was new to me, is Gundanium is the metal that is used to make those suits, which is why they're Gundam suits. So that's how they differ from these regular ones. So not all suits are Gundam. They are just mobile suits, which is what the majority of the opposing army is in those brown. They're not Gundam, right?
Yeah,
they're just regular.
Those other mobile suits are basically just, you know, they're made of the same materials as like spaceships or cars and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
But the Gundanium alloy is supposed to be too hard to manage, you know, to form into anything. But some people in the colonies, some scientists there figured out how to do it and make it work well, so that they're extremely hard to take out. And the idea of Gundams to everyone else was kind of a myth. You know, it's something they heard might exist, but it was kind of just like, no, that's not real. It's like a Santa Claus kind of tale. There's no such thing as Gundams. Yeah. So then they see it up close and they're like, we are screwed.
Yeah, because it almost seems like adamantium in the sense that like they're getting shot. Like they'll send like one Gundam in to fight like an army of soldiers in other mech suits. Yeah. And it's like they're not even worried about it. They're just doing their thing.
What was smart was Zex did is he got in his mobile suit. He knew that he couldn't destroy that Gundam. He's like, there's no way I'm going to win. So what he did was in his mobile suit, he had it grab like the wrists of the other one and like locked on. And once it got through Earth's atmosphere, he like jumped out with a parachute, blah, blah, blah. So the Gundam could not move and it crashed into the ocean, basically. That's how Hiro ended up washed up on the beach where Relina saw him for the first time, saw his identity, and he tried to kill himself. He had like an explosive attached to his suit and it malfunctioned.
Oh, yeah, because of the water, probably.
He can't let people know that they made it. You know, it was bad enough that Zex ended up being the only survivor of that encounter. It was bad enough that Zex saw him. So, and then this girl sees his face, and he's like, I have to kill myself. So he tries, doesn't work. So the Gundam pilots they try to blend themselves into society so that people don't suspect and don't realize they're there. And at the same time, he enrolls in that school where Relina is because he wants to get closer because he's going to have to kill her because she might figure out what he is.
Okay, so he literally meant he was going to kill her.
Yes, yeah, he was going to kill her. That was his plan.
Okay, I thought he was just trying to push her away.
He's
or make
just,
her
like
leave him
he's
alone.
being emo. No, yeah. He was totally going to kill her.
Man, that's dark.
Yeah, the other Gundam pilots and their mechs or their Gundams. So Hiro had the Wing Zero. I mentioned before there's the Death Scythe that's piloted by Duo Maxwell. He is absolutely my favorite. He's hilarious. Troa Barton pilots the Gundam Heavy Arms. And he is, just like it sounds, he is the heavy artillery. Ketra pilots Sandrock, and Wu Fei pilots Shenlong.
Yeah, which is cool. It's got that dragon-looking arm on it.
Yeah, thanks, sweet.
Yeah. Heroes Gundam Wing Zero, like that is like when you think of the show Gundam Wing, that is the imagery that you think of.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The blue and red and white.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the basic Gundam that you kind of template in your mind when you think of the show. Next episode we watched for today's show was Scenario for Bloodshed, Season 1, Episode 7. And this was Chris's pick.
Yes.
And man, I'm glad you chose this one. This one was awesome. Like
Yes.
this was where, like the first episode, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this because it's still like militaristic and whatnot. And then the 7th episode is also, but there was such a cool, like the way that it all transpired. I was like, oh man, I'm so in. Like I am super pumped now.
It gets very Game of Thronesy. Like there's so much political backstabbing and just strategery and people positioning themselves around their allies and betraying them and all kinds of stuff. It's nuts.
It's that planning of ultimately what Hero has to do, which I won't say yet, or what he ends up doing, not what he has to do, but it's the planning of that and seeing all of it, all the blocks being put into place without the Hero characters knowing. And then it's like, oh no, like I know what's about to happen. And they have laid this groundwork for this so perfectly, the Oz group did, that it's like, man, like that's kind of like flawless tactics there. That's great.
Yeah, this was like the reason I picked this because I feel like this is the quintessential episode that like this is what the show is about. Basically,
it's the turning point.
Yeah,
like,
it really is. Yeah, so the Gundam pilot's main thing is to destroy Oz. Basically, you know, it's kind of like, yes, the Earthsphere Alliance is kind of a problem as well, but Oz is the poison within the being, basically. So Oz is what they want to destroy. And Oz being headed up by Treize Kushernada and Zex Marquise being his second-hand man, basically. So yeah, Treize is their number one target. And at the moment, there's this huge, and this is awesome, there's this huge meeting with all the Alliance leaders at this facility, and Treize puts out this false information, like this rumor that it's actually Oz leaders. At first, that doesn't feel like it's a big deal, and you're like, well, why would he do that? And then once you figure out what's happening, you're like, oh, God.
Yeah, especially once you hear, like, I mean, Hero most of all is just like, this is our chance to kill them all.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, like that's where you connect it. And it's like, no, don't. I hope they figure it out.
The ironic thing is the reason that meeting's there is because the Alliance is basically, it's got all their leaders there talking about, we need to make peace with the colonies. We started out doing this whole, like, you know, global governing as a way to create peace. And we did that, but we took it too far and we've overstepped. And now we're causing more bloodshed because of the hostility between us and the colonies. We have to scale back. So they're talking about, like, you know, they are going to look for peace with the colonies. They're going to demilitarize themselves and scale things back. And all of them are kind of on board except for that one guy, that was General Septum, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So he's the only one that's kind of like, no, why would we do that? That's stupid. If, like, they have attacked us before, we need to keep our military presence, and everyone else is like, no.
Yeah, the idea, at least the way that they put it, was demilitarizing and basically putting down their arms is what will help the rebel forces, the colony, to stop their violence as well.
Yeah.
Like they're thinking that's what's going to encourage it. So plan-wise, it's fine, and it's like they're going in a good direction. And like you said, that's the irony of the whole thing.
Yeah. So the Gundams thinking this is Oz, they show up. And what's interesting too, and I don't remember, I'm sure this is touched on, I don't remember all the nuances, but none of the other Gundam pilots knew that they existed. Hiro didn't know that the other four were there or what their missions were, and vice versa. Like, none of them knew each other existed. We see in an earlier episode, Hiro and Duo find each other, and they realize that they're kind of along the same mission, even though Hiro thinks Duo's super obnoxious. And they fight a lot. Likewise, Ketra and Troa have had a similar thing happen where they've run into each other before. The four of them all end up in this spot attacking, basically just, attacking the facilities. They're fighting against the army. They have to start evacuating the Alliance members. And this is where like Trey's that sniveling rat. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, where he offers the Marshal Noventa. He's the head of this whole thing, and he's like right now they're just kind of staying in place and waiting for the fight to be over, but it's not looking like they're going to be victorious. So Trey's offers the Marshal and the other members, aside from Septum, this the fastest Oz jet or something, escape jet or something, and so he takes them that direction and starts walking them towards that, and then he separates Septum from them to have him come on a different jet, because I can't remember what his reasoning was behind it, like what he told him, but it was something like there's only so much room on it because it was a newer build and there's only so much space.
Yeah, he invites Septum to go on his personal jet because he's just like, that one's gonna get pretty stuffy. This one's more luxurious. I think you and I have a like mind. Let's do a little bit more discussion, away from the other leaders. So Septum takes him up on it. And yeah, this is a kicker. So all these Alliance leaders take off on this jet going to the air that says Oz on it. So of course the Gundams who are there to destroy Oz see it and go after it. And Hero, he gets out that laser sword thing and just without hesitation just rips the thing in half and just kills everyone.
Well, yeah, because he's like, this is my chance. And
yes. Man.
Wing Zero can transform into a jet, so flies up there, cuts it in half, and as the viewer, already, and you're just like, it made me a little sick to my stomach because I knew what just happened, and I'm just like, oh no, like everything that happened, everything that Oz had planned out was falling into place right here, because even separating Septum was a calculated move.
Yep.
Because they then had him come on the air on Trey's personal jet and basically tell the world what had just happened and how these rebel forces had assassinated the Alliance leaders. Well, at the same time, then Oz has all these forces over these central military points or something.
All across the world.
Right. And then that's their time to land down and essentially take control. Like I was saying, this is the shift in the show where it's like, the enemies were very in the shadows before. Like they were there, but like you said, they were just the poison in the shadows.
Yep.
But now, this is them. Now that all of the Alliance leaders are dead, Oz has come out full force and their plans are ready to unfurl. And so that's where it's like, it took a huge turn right there. And this is 7 episodes in.
Yeah.
So the rest of the series essentially is going to be fixing that issue.
Yeah, it all builds from that, and a lot of it gets worse, believe it or not, before it gets better.
Oh man.
And yeah, basically this was like a Shield Hydra situation, for those that are fans of the Marvel universe. Yeah, like Oz was basically Hydra, and people, but in this case they knew that Oz existed. They just didn't suspect Oz was going to turn against them. And yeah, the Oz soldiers killed any Alliance soldiers that stood in the way. I mean, they mowed down everybody, and they took control of the entire Earth basically in one move.
And then even after, I thought they were going to keep Septum alive, but even after his speech, she just drops him out of the plane, and then if that wasn't bad enough, she shoots him in the head on the way down.
Yeah, this lady on kind of Trey's right-hand woman, as opposed to Zex, who's his right-hand man. Yeah, he does the address, declares war against the colonies, and then they just drop him out of the plane and shoot him. Dang! Yeah,
because I was like, it's not like he's going to live, but she's like, just in case.
Yep, exactly.
Man, it was a brutal shot, too.
Yeah.
I mean, not the gunshot, but I just mean the shot of that whole thing happening.
Yeah, I mean, the slow motion, seeing the silhouette with the bullet shoot through it. And
yeah, it's art, man.
It really is
beautiful.
And I love how so you got the other 4 Gundams are kind of fighting each other a little bit too, because they don't, like I said, they don't all know the reason that each other are there. You've got Duo who's kind of staying out of it, Ketra who's trying to appeal to them and be like, we shouldn't be fighting. We're obviously all here for the same reason. It's mostly Troa and Hero going at each other. And then Wu Fei stops in and pulls everyone apart and is basically like, you morons, do you know what you just did? Like, you just caused the war. Hero's, like, the look on his face, they animated that so well. Like, right there, it looked like he was about to vomit because he realized what he did.
Just this whole, like, what have I done?
Yeah.
And Wu Fei explaining that they were puppets to Oz and everything. And it's like, wow, that took a crazy turn there for me anyway. Like, I was not ready for that.
Yeah, it's the best part of that show, man. They do such a great way, and it's just like for 6 episodes, like laying up these dominoes, and then boom, everything just falls over without you even realizing they were ready to fall.
I got enough off the first episode to understand what was going on, but I'm sure there's a lot of things I missed in between that would have helped fill out some more of the gaps for me. But overall, I still understood what was happening and how bad that was.
Yeah.
So the last episode we watched for today's show was The Final Victor, Season 1, Episode 49, which was the highest rated and also the last episode of the series. And in this one, Heroes Wing Gundam Zero and Zex Gundam Epion begin their final duel against each other. A lot has happened. I don't know exactly why, but I did see that at some point Zex removed his mask. This was my first time seeing Epion. That was an awesome looking Gundam.
Right, and Zex is no longer Zex. He is Miliardo Peacecraft.
Okay, so he is Relena's brother.
Yes, yeah, her older brother, which I don't think she knew was... Yeah, she did not know he was even alive.
She finds out, though, right before this
episode? She does find out that, way before this happens. He is now the main man in charge, and it's not even of Oz. Oz is pretty much defunct, and it's Miliardo leading this group called, I believe, the White Fang, a thing that ended up being born out of Oz. So it's kind of Miliardo and his followers, basically. It's weird because he talks about how much, like, and there's a lot of this too, talk about pacifism. He fancies himself, the universe needs pacifism, but he himself can never be a pacifist, but he can keep everyone else from being him by basically showing them, like, the worst possible atrocity that would force people to never wage war again. So it's...
So what was that going to be? I didn't catch
So
that
what
part.
happened was his shuttle, or his big, they had this big space station, I think it was called Libra. And there's another one that he had, like, going full force. It was going to plunge into the Earth. Basically, it would hit the Earth. It would make the Earth unlivable. It would force everyone that didn't die to go to the colonies. So everyone would be the same, essentially, everyone would be living in the same area, living in the colonies. There would be no sides anymore. And the atrocity would be so awful, like no one would even think to pick up a weapon ever again. And the second stage would be to destroy all weapons.
So Libra crashing to Earth, that was a planned thing? That was his doing?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was his plan, basically. That plan may have come out of another plan he had being stopped. I don't exactly remember because it's been about 5 years since I've watched the series in its entirety. But yeah, that was at that point. That's basically the plan, and obviously the Gundams are trying to stop it, especially Hero.
Yeah, and they, even when it gets to the point where they've stopped it to some degree, like all the Gundams are there trying to essentially push it away or redirect it. And engineers also, like, who dropped off the engineers?
Was it Duo that dropped them off, I think?
It was Duo, you're right. Because Ketra is hurt at this point. I don't know why, but coming into the episode, I see that he's been hurt and he's with Troa, and they're talking to this woman that I didn't recognize.
That's Dorothy.
Okay. Is she a pilot also, like a Gundam pilot or what?
No, she was kind of like, she ended up getting involved in like White Fang and Oz and all that stuff. She was kind of like a weird like acquaintance of Relena's that got tied up in a lot of this stuff.
Okay. And over all of this, you've got so much happens in these like 27, 28 minutes, whatever it is. But you've got, as the main focal point, Zex, and not even the main focal point, actually, just as something that keeps going back to, Zex and Hero are, having their final duel, essentially to decide the future at this point, the future of peace. Like, is it going to be peace in the way that Hero is trying to achieve it, or is it going to be peace through that huge atrocity, like you said, that Miliardo is trying to achieve? And so it's a weird thing going on. For me, jumping into it, I was a little confused, but I caught up. They catch you up a little bit on what's happening, and then at the same time, like I said, the other Gundams are trying to push the Libra vessel away, along with the engineers trying to figure out a way to redirect it. And then one of the engineers is saying, like, we're going to interfere with your plans one last time, and he pushes the button, and you see that explosion. Does that blow all of them up also? Is that
they're all
happening?
dead.
Okay.
They're super dead.
So that's what starts pushing or propelling the Libra away, but then a piece falls off of it or breaks off of it, and that piece is still large enough to where when it impacts on the Earth, there will be a cloud of dust so large that it will make the Earth uninhabitable, just like the other would have.
Yeah, so those engineer guys, those were the guys that created the Gundams. Each one of them created one of those Gundams. They were from the colonies, and they there's so much backstory to them too that's really interesting. But yeah, what I think is interesting too, and like it really shows the amount of philosophy in this thing, is because like there's a lot of points in this show where certain characters that even though they battle, they talk about battle being meaningless and just, the meaninglessness and the sadness of battle and things like that. But there's really never a good way of representing that, because it's always like, well, this person's battling for what they think is good and this person's battling for what they think is good. But they do it well here, where they show a group of characters broadcast the fight between Zex and Hero to all across the colonies and Earth. And they see how awful this is and how awful things can be. And the colonies themselves, they meet and they're just like, we understand how meaningless all of this is. Why are we even fighting? We don't want this to be our future. So they basically declare peace with the Earth before anything even happens. So Zex or Miliardo and Hero basically are fighting a meaningless battle at that point. And it's basically like Zex won't stop fighting regardless. So Hero is basically having to continue the meaningless battle just to keep him from continuing. So it's such an interesting and weird philosophy.
Yeah, because you're just hearing it on the overhead intercoms or whatever of them, the colonies apologizing for what they've done and for essentially the misunderstanding or their ultimate vision not being clear. It's kind of like crunch time at this point. Like after all that's done, the piece of Libra, the block of Libra, is still on its collision route, and no one really thinks they can stop it. I think they have like 200 seconds till it enters the atmosphere at a certain point. Hero has essentially stopped Zex. Like he's on his knee asking why he won't just kill him. And I think his answer was like, because Relena would be sad, and that's why he's not going to kill him.
Yeah.
So the other Gundams are trying to destroy ship parts. Like they're just trying to tear it apart before it reaches Earth, or as much of it as they can, so they can minimize the damage at the very least, even though most of them are aware that it's kind of like a meaningless, it's all in vain, because with the forces they have right now, like they're not really able to even put a dent in it because it's a huge portion of the ship. And then you've got Hero who is coming in and he's like, well, the self-destruct mechanism is like the only answer. So he's again ready to sacrifice himself to stop this thing, or in an attempt to stop this thing. And then that's when we see Miliardo come back in. He is still like, it looks like he's still ready to fight. And then he like stabs his blade into the self-destruct device, I guess, and causes it to explode. Ultimately, it's still not enough. Like that was a portion of it, yes, but there was still part of the block still falling that'll hit Earth and still, cause crazy amount of damage. So at this point, it's kind of Hero putting his faith in his Gundam. Wu Fei comes in, throws him this attachment, I think the Buster Rifle attachment for his Gundam.
This giant laser blast cannon thing.
Yeah, and so everybody else is just like, they see that and they're just like, okay, everybody like clear out of this thing, give him room.
Yeah, like, get out of here.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, it's a little laser rifle. Like, what's it going to do? Like, I didn't realize how crazy powerful that thing was.
The thing's like the Death Star cannon, basically.
It is,
It's crazy.
But, oh man, I loved the last shot. It's entered the Earth's atmosphere, and then, like, they think it's hopeless at this point, that the people observing, and then you see, or they see Wing Zero, like, flying in front of it, look backwards as he's also falling through the atmosphere, kind of burning up on his way down, and holding the gun, holding the rifle at the piece of the ship, and trying to aim it, but, you know, at all the while, like, pieces of the mech are falling apart, like, it's falling apart, the Gundam is, and he's having trouble aiming it and everything. And then, of course, like, at the last minute, he finally is able to and blast it, and it kind of, like, evaporates the whole thing almost. And any pieces that are left over are so small that they burn up in the atmosphere. So I just thought that was such a cool way to outro it. And just seeing him, the imagery of the Wing Zero falling through the atmosphere backwards, pointing that cannon, that's going to stick with me because that was really strong.
They're so good at this in the show at framing very epic scenes that way. I feel like every episode there's something like that just really gets you, and it makes sense to me because this was Sunrise Studio. This is the same studio that did Cowboy Bebop, and Cowboy Bebop also is extremely good at those very specifically, like, deliberately framed shots of animation that just really leave an impact, and like, they're very memorable.
Now, do you want to talk about the very end at all? Like, the full circle?
We'll leave the full circle part up to like, the listeners. If you're interested in this, which you should be, because this is an amazing anime. It's one of the best animes you'll ever watch.
We don't want to spoil that part for you. And really, what we've given you is such a small portion of this giant story that it's like we barely scratched the surface.
All I can say is, like, there's a very small moment at the end of the episode, you know, at the end of the series, that will just make you smile, and you're just like, dang, that was the perfect way to end. It
was so satisfying, and it's just on a really, like, calm note. So it's not like oh no, they're, you know, enemies are still there or whatever. It's not like a huge stinger. It's just something that's really like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like the nod to a friend. You're like, good job, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to say too that, so if you watch Gundam Wing in its entirety and you're like, man, I wish this didn't end, I wish there was more. There is more, because it was so highly regarded that they ended up having to come back and make a movie. So there is a movie called Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, where all your favorite characters will return. Yeah,
I probably need to see that. After watching this thing, I'm real interested. I'm intrigued by this whole universe. Well, Chris, looks like it's about time we send our inner kids off to the galactic war in their very own mobile suits made out of cardboard and tinfoil to cut cost. Then, assuming they survive, see what they thought of the show Mobile Suit Gundam Wing.
I was kind of confused because, like, there were good guys and bad guys, but bad guys fighting bad guys, and then good guys fighting good guys and becoming bad guys after the good guys were bad guys, but now the bad guys are also good guys, but some of them are still bad guys. Wow. But there's so many big robots fighting and blowing everything up, and they're just all teenagers. So when I'm a teenager, I'm gonna fly a big robot and blow up a space shuttle, just like they did. Everyone will love that, right? So I gave this cartoon 5 bowls of peace earned through killing everything cereal out of 5.
This is definitely a much more intelligent anime than the standard affair that I'm used to. That wasn't something I was initially aware of coming into it, so I was a bit worried it was going to drag with all the tech, war, and tactics talk. That may have been somewhat true at first, but the more I watched, the more I started really being drawn into the story itself, and the killer action scenes became the icing on this layered cake. Emphasis on layered, because with all the factions fighting for their own versions of peace in the galaxy, there's a lot to wrap your head around here. Which I mean is a compliment, not a deterrent. Overall, I'd give Mobile Suit Gundam Wing 5 big bowls of From Wing Zero to Hero cereal out of 5, and I highly recommend it. In closing, since it seems like the age of Gundam pilots is 15, I'm gonna go ahead and enlist with the military as soon as I can so I can fly one too. I mean, with as fast as technology is advancing, you guys are probably surrounded by mobile suits and living in a space colony at this point, right, older us?
Well, no, not even close actually. But we are getting new Star Wars movies every year, so that's sort of close to traveling the galaxy.
Oh, and we can join Space Force when that starts, and then we can pilot Gundams.
Oh yeah,
That's
there
my
is a
plan.
Space Force coming. So there you
Yeah,
go.
we'll join Space Force. There's no way that'll go wrong.
I think this is the way to go. This is the wave of the future.
This is our calling.
And Gundams are going to be coming very soon.
So do you have any closing comments on Mobile Suit Gundam Wing before we go?
I was really pleasantly surprised, and I wish I had watched it sooner. Like, I had heard about it before, yeah, but it's like, to me, there were so many giant mech animes that they all kind of blended together, because there's, like I said, Escaflowne, there's Evangelion, and then, just various others. So I had watched those, and I'm like, okay, well, I've got my fill of, giant mech anime. I'm fine now. Like, I don't need to put more on my plate for that. But that said, I wish I had watched this one first, because the others, not necessarily pale in comparison, but it's a completely different type of show than those others. And I just really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to pick up more and watch as much as I can of the Wing series. And then I think Seed's also really good. Like I said, I watched some of it, so I'm going to probably watch that too. It's just something I think I'm going to really dive into now that I've seen this much of it. And I'm glad that we watched it.
I can sympathize, because when I first saw it advertised as a teenager, it didn't appeal to me, because I was just like, oh, it's one of those big robot mech things. Like, I don't need this. But it was like in a late night Adult Swim, like, I can't sleep and I'm just going to watch what's on TV, that I saw it and I was like, oh my God, this is everything that like a great anime should be. Like, I love this thing. So yeah, man, I see like where you were coming from back then, and I'm glad that you watched it and you really enjoy it now, because like I love this show. Like I've said before, there's so many layers to it, because on the surface, sure, it can just look like, giant robot battles like we talked about, but underneath there's all this political intrigue and backstabbing and like super deep philosophy over war and peace and what that means. And it really got me thinking deeply about like what things like war can really achieve, and does the end really justify the means? And it's all wrapped up with these really interesting characters, especially the Gundam pilots, which are also, if you want to open another can, are essentially like child soldiers that have been basically trained their whole lives to perform this duty, while parts of them also wish they could feel like normal people. As a teenager at the time, I kind of felt like one of those people that were on the outside of things, so I empathized with these characters quite a bit. Watching it now, like, well, if you watch the dub, the voices for the characters are fantastic, but there definitely are some bad translations at certain moments that do seem kind of stupid. But the core of the show still stands so strong, and this is going to be a show I always go back to and watch again. I've watched it all the way through, I think 3 or 4 times now, and I won't stop. I will continue watching this over every few years.
Yeah, and just to touch on something you were mentioning about the, child soldiers being raised for battle, like being trained since birth, basically. There was something that Troa had said that I forgot to mention in the last episode, where he's talking about now that this is coming to a close, like his life no longer has meaning, because this is what they were raised for. So it's like he has to keep on living, but he's not necessarily sure why. And that's just such a deep, like, philosophical thought. Like, they didn't really plan ahead for this. It's just like, in the moment, this is what's right and this is what we need them for. But what about after the fact? Like, and that kind of goes with just the military in general, where a lot of soldiers come back from war and they just don't know how to fit back into normal society.
Part of them are always there. Like, it's like a warrior without a war. Like, what do I do?
Yeah, so that's just such an intriguing thought, and this show is full of those. And so, like I mean, like we were talking about, there's just so many layers to it. We could go on for it forever, but I mean, and this is only me watching 3 episodes, and I still have so many. Like, I'm so intrigued by it, and I have so many thoughts and questions about it. But I don't want to drag this for like hours and hours and hours. But it just like, essentially, I could talk to you about it all day with just questions that I have.
Well, yeah, it's one of those series where like each episode could be like super analyzed and picked apart, because there's always some deeper thought or like thought provoking piece to it. Like, just every episode is like that, and So I'm really glad that we watched this, and I really hope that this gets somebody else that hasn't seen this before to watch it. You know, I know we have a few listeners that have said like, oh, I wouldn't have watched this, but you guys talked about it, and now I'm like super into the idea. Like, I really hope that happens for this one, because this is like hands down one of the best, not just cartoons, but one of the best shows I've ever watched in my entire life. So I really hope that others can get that experience.
Yeah, and at least in the episodes I watched, it doesn't really suffer from anime tropes at all. Like it doesn't necessarily even have to be labeled as an anime. Like it's not, you don't see any of like the big eyes and like the giant sweat drops or anything like that. Like it's none of that. Like it's very serious in that sense. And it's like, even if you're not into like the giant mech thing, like that's only like a small portion of it. Like the rest is just like, oh, I'm gonna stop because I'm just gonna keep going if I don't stop talking.
No, that's true. Yeah. That's the Gundam part. Like the robots are the wrapping paper for the present, basically.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
Yeah,
totally.
It's great, and I can't recommend it enough.
Nicely said. Well, listeners, looks like our milk supply is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. Next week we'll be watching
Winx Club, submitted by Tommy. And again, this is, we're kind of getting into the beginning of the month, so we are hitting the bottom of our list once again. And you guys downvoted Winx Club all the way to the bottom. I don't know what to expect other than like I know it's a bunch of fairies. So
man,
Thanks, Tommy.
Going from this serious action-packed Gundam Wing to Winx Club.
Yeah, they have wings, I guess. It's just...
That's Cartoon Boom for you.
Yeah.
Well, once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next Saturday.
Presented by Nerdsloth.
A place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.